morning and welcome. This is Tampa Home Talk, and I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, joined by Mr. Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspections.
I'm so excited to be here right now. We got market stats, we got numbers, we got Adam Talley coming in the door.
Yeah, my other co-host is not quite mic'd up, so we'll just introduce you to our guest for the hour. Mr. Robert Perez is in the house with Family Pest Services. Welcome to the show, Mr. Robert. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
You excited to hang out with us here this morning? We're going to talk about bugs.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna chat with Family Pest, what they do, how long they've been around, what kind of stuff they can take care of for you. But before that, let's jump into our market number, shall we?
Yeah, new listings were at 885.
A little bit down from last
week. We can all read those without glasses. You're down. You're down, Adam. Try it.
Oh, there we go. Well, didn't last week we have like 6,000 or something like that?
Yeah, we did have like 6,500.
No, we fixed it.
We fixed that, and then we got
big drop in the market.
What was the real number? Turn Adam out. What was the real number?
For last week? We don't know.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
I reported it.
No, you didn't.
I'll find it.
It was 6,000. But yeah, new listings are at 885 with pendings at 918. So we're back in that solid trend of the market where more stuff is disappearing than appearing onto our market. So
well, we're getting into the spring season.
Yeah, we're getting to the busy season. Like, what is that? Round off until about like May, June. It starts to kind of cool down a little bit. But this is the hottest part of the year. Not really. I mean, you couldn't tell that from the weather this morning.
I think it was like 58.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good. Like yesterday, it was so perfect. Like no humidity. I stopped at my friend's house after I signed a new listing. One of our radio listeners, by the way, signed a listing agreement with me yesterday. She'll be live in May. We'll be talking about her property then. So I'm going to give a shout out to Liz this morning because she's probably listening. And so I went set at Sarah's last night for a while. They're so sweet. They made me dinner and hung out on her back porch on the river, and it was the water and the weather and everything was perfect.
Get on the boat at all?
No, her boat was in the shop.
Sunset cruise? No sunset cruise?
It doesn't bother anyone that we're in a tropical climate. You guys are talking about no humidity.
Okay, let's go. Let's talk about it.
Should bother you. I mean, we're not used to having.
We don't get those days very often, so I was kind of bragging about it. But apparently, I should be worried about it.
You should be worried about it. We had several of those last spring, and it led to a vicious Hurricane Ideala over the summer.
So that's what you think? You think Beryl's going to come out with a bang this year?
Oh, Hurricane Beryl. I have high hopes. I have high hopes for Beryl every single year.
So of course,
every single 6 year it comes as a storm, but nothing ever comes of Beryl.
Of course, we looked at the hurricane list already, and Beryl, just like Beryl Engineering Inspections, is on the list this year.
Yeah, as a hurricane, historically, Beryl's been like what it's named after, a 90-year-old grandmother.
Yeah. Well, it's an early season storm, right? You know, you get those A's. Those like Hurricane Adam is never going to be anything big unless we go through the alphabet twice.
Wait a second, like so you can say there's an A storm can never be impactful to the state of Florida.
I'm not saying it can never be impactful.
Andrew.
I'm not saying it can never be impactful.
That changed the whole insurance market of Florida forever. I remember that.
But I do remember, listening to you on this radio show after a million years saying that we get the late season storms coming across the Gulf. I pay attention to you.
Katrina.
Right?
Katrina, the ice storm. It's the ice storm that I'm most worried about because we've been retiring the ice storm every year, almost every.
What's the I this year? I can't remember.
I don't remember, but
I texted it to you.
They keep retiring the ice storm name because it keeps we had Ivan, we have Ideala, we had Ian, we had
Isaac this year.
Isaac. Oh, Isaac. We've had another Isaac. Yeah, so the way that the hurricane naming works is it's going to alternate boy, girl, and every year that's going to alternate between which are boys and girls. So this year, the evens, the B's, the D's, I'm not that great with the alphabet as far as being able to say, but the B's and the D's, the F's, yes, the BDF, I's, they're all going to be female names. So
Alberto, Beryl, Chris, Debbie, Ernesto, Francine, Gordon, Helen, Isaac, Joyce, Kirk, Leslie, Milton, Nadine, Oscar, Patty, Raphael.
You can stop there.
You don't think we're going to get that far?
That far.
We're probably not going to get that far.
We don't.
I mean, the years were there was a couple of years where we went through the regular Roman alphabet and then you hit Greek lettering. Those are always fun years, but.
For science nerds, they're so excited we went through all those letters.
And I know from my fraternity days, I know my Greek alphabet, so I know the order that those are in. So it's going to be a fun. It's going to be a fun year. With the way that spring is looking and the way we had such a dry, rainy season. I think we're in for a couple of big drenchers. I don't necessarily know about heavy wind, but we're in for definitely a couple of big drenchers.
So I remember looking at like the future storm list, right, for the year, and the year that Katrina came up, it was never on the list before. I remember seeing it.
You know, Katrina was a replacement storm?
No. I never saw it on the list again.
Well, yeah. Once you have a named storm that causes devastation,
Right.
they retire.
I get that, but I'm saying, like, you know how sometimes you'll see the names come up again if they don't do anything. You'll see them circulate every
6 years.
Okay, so I had never remembered seeing it before, and so when my name, same spelling, everything came up, I was like, "Oh, wait for Katrina. She's gonna be a doozy." And then I remember talking to my grandfather, watching it on the news, and Katrina was bigger than the state of Florida on the map, and I was like, "Ooh." Didn't really mean it like that.
Well, back then that was amazing. Now that's just commonplace. The storm taking up the whole map.
It was bigger than any other storm I remember looking at. I mean, Andrew was probably that big.
Andrew was smaller.
Was
Andrew
it?
was
I thought
small.
bigger.
It just went right up the nub of Florida. Just went right up.
Well, I remember when that hit in the 90s. It hit Miami.
Yeah.
It wiped out Miami big time. But
Yeah, it caused $6 billion worth of damage.
well, nothing.
Talking about
compared to
Andrew?
Today.
Andrew.
Yeah. So
Andrew changed Florida
Florida,
forever
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's where we got all of our building codes and everything.
Yeah, that's why there is a
Essentially,
Florida
wow.
building code. That was the offshoot of what happened with Hurricane Andrew, and now storms like Ian, Irma. Irma has again changed Florida, drastically made changes to the Florida building code. And as I said earlier, the impacts of Ian, because it was so close to a code change, we're really not going to see what those impacts are until this next building code revision, which will be 2026.
What are they gonna change? Do you know?
We already know some of the changes that are coming. Like for mobile homes, carports now need to have a fourth wall.
Okay.
Because without that fourth wall, too much stuff was breaking, and the carports were ripping off the side of the building, taking with it the building. So
a fourth wall.
So
How is it a
basically-
carport if it has a fourth wall?
well, it's not really a fourth wall per se that it's going to have an actual wall, but a fourth wall. And like normally you would have two poles, and then your carport roof leans into the building, and you're good. Now they're going to have 4 poles because you can't lean into the building. That's what they mean by fourth wall.
Oh, so they want more stabilization.
They
on
want
that.
separate structures that are joined together.
So it doesn't rip the whole house and the carport.
Yeah, so that's some of the changes that we expect to see coming. Roofing, as always, we expect to see more use of synthetic underlayments or tape underlayments as opposed to felt. So we're still seeing that directional change. But yeah, I think the biggest change we're going to see happens to be on these, how multiple structures are joined together or how you make additions to existing structures. And I think that's the biggest change we'll see in the 2026 building code from Hurricane Ian, only because we see the municipalities already moving in that direction. And it was probably direction they wanted to move, but they just couldn't get it in the code in time.
Do we? So what would it look like as far as if you wanted to do an addition? Like, what are the roadblocks that they're changing already in some municipalities?
Well, I mean, like carports, for instance, those have to be more separate structure. If you're just doing room additions type thing, you're still going to end up in scenarios where, and I would love the Florida Building Code to eliminate the low slope roof pitch at 1/4 inch for 12. So what it's saying is for a low slope roof, you're supposed to have a pitch, and it's supposed to be 1/4 inch over 12 inches towards the edge. I'd really like to see that at least a 1/2 inch, because 1/4 inch, you put foam insulation down, that starts to compress. Anything else, you end up with a situation where the natural compression of that insulation is going to cause ponding. And if you have 10 feet by 10 feet of water that's 1 inch thick, you know how much that weighs?
A lot.
2,000 pounds. So
I
ponding's
knew
a
you
big
would
deal.
know.
Yeah, ponding's a big deal. And I've worked with Aaron Dunovit a lot on roof collapses of properties that have had this kind of ponding of water, and I've testified about the weight of water. And so ponding's a serious thing. I'd love them to up the pitch in Florida Building Code to a 1/2 inch over 12. That raising of 1/4 inch will make drastic
Well, why
improvements
don't you
for
put
safety.
in your voice before they actually make changes?
No one listens to me. I'm still pushing my white roof agenda.
No one listens to you? Aren't
No one
you
listens
like,
to me. No one
expert
listens.
witness extraordinaire?
They
Yeah.
listen to him, but when it's too late,
They listen to me, but when it comes time to revising building code, they don't listen to me.
Well, go up to Tallahassee, do a filibuster. You got this.
like Great American Realtor Days, there should be like
Great American Leo days.
Great American
Real W change day.
Yeah, no one wants to be told what color their white roof should be. So, but I'm telling you,
we talk about this white roof all the time, but we always forget that talk radio people pop in and out. So someone might be popping in for the first time listening. So talk about your white roof initiative or agenda, or as we've talked about on the show.
Yes,
propaganda.
So there is something called the solar reflectivity index, and basically, the darker your roof, the more heat it absorbs. The more heat it absorbs, the more radiant heat there is in the surrounding area. So basically, if we want to replace, and what's neat about the polar ice caps is they're white. And the more polar ice caps we have, the more reflection happens because they have a high solar reflectivity. So having ice caps reflect sunlight. So as we lose the ice caps, you end up with what I call an asthmatic damage over time curve. What that basically means is your damage gets worse the more into something going wrong is. So because we are losing solar ice caps, we start losing solar ice caps even faster because we have more heat. Now we can make up that
global warming. We
can make up that difference though if we were using white roofing material, white shingles, white TPO, white or light colored modified bitumen. If we were all using a white shingle or a white material, we would be replicating that geographic area that we're losing for the solar ice caps. So by using white roofing materials, you can actually be doing your part to reduce the trend of all this warmness, and then would reduce hurricanes. I mean, if the insurance companies are fighting claims right now, they shouldn't be fighting claims. They should be pushing a white roof agenda. I mean, they're already.
I saw something. What did I see on YouTube? I sent it to you. They were like painting the streets or something.
It was in San Francisco. They actually painted the streets white for that very purpose. Now, that painting the streets caused different issues, but I see where they're going, and I can support that. But yeah, there are tests right now about that. But the easiest way to do this would be everyone needs a white, a light gray, or something along those lines for their roofing material. We could drastically reduce the amount of energy absorption. Your inside would be easier to manage because on those really hot days, you wouldn't be absorbing all that heat.
Leo could do a TED Talk about this. I'm telling you, he could do a TED Talk.
I think we just listened to it.
But I mean, he could have his own legit TED Talk that gets shared with 20 million views.
I would love for that agenda to be pushed, but
is there somebody from the Black Roof agenda that could, that could counteract your
theoretically
stance?
With your statement, if you had a light or white colored roof, your energy bill would also be less as well,
yes,
right? Because you're reflecting solar heat.
Yeah, solar reflectivity. So I'm still pushing my white roof agenda. I'm still looking for a better name than the white power movement, though. That's where I start losing people. I need a better name than calling it the white power movement.
The white roof. Solar
it just doesn't sound as good as white power. We can reclaim something that's historically negative, white power, and turn it into something positive, which is fighting global warming by the use of white roofs.
That could actually save our planet. Go figure.
So is that why solar panels are black, so they absorb more?
Pretty much, yeah. They're black because they want to absorb more heat. That's why that material is darker, because it's absorbing more of the sunlight. Mm-hmm. But speaking of solar energy, this is amazing. If we actually had, we're big into farming because, humans need to eat. But if we actually had the ability to capture the sun's energy, the sun in one day produces enough energy to do the entire Earth energy needs for a whole year.
Like a Dyson sphere?
Like a vacuum cleaner?
No, that's what
wait.
That's what it's called. If you know what I'm talking about.
Say that again.
You know
say that
better.
again.
The sun puts out enough energy in one day that if we could capture it using enough solar, we could fuel the Earth's entire energy consumption needs for an entire year.
Okay. So the sun is doing its job. We're not doing our job.
We're not doing our job capturing that.
Got it.
What if we just nudge Earth a little bit closer to the sun?
Well, we are. we are in that by the ice caps melting and the temperatures, global temperatures rising 0.5 degrees, we have, in essence, moved ourselves closer to the sun with the heat. And have taken us from a climate, like Katrina said, we're in a tropical climate, but there's no humidity right now.
Okay, so
I thought we were
full circle.
subtropical.
Yeah, full circle to close this out. So the no humidity means we could potentially have a stronger hurricane season?
Definitely, and I'm rooting for that B storm, Beryl.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Tampa Home Talk. I'm going to give our off-air number, and then we will be back with our guest for the hour, Mr. Robert Perez with Family Pest Services. Our off-air number here at Tampa Home Talk is 813-377-2775. That's a call or a text number, 813-377-2775. You can call or text if you got questions about pest control, if you got some science stuff you want to give Leo for the next global warming white cap roof hour.
White Power Hour.
We'll chat about it. 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, bringing you all the interesting news. Now that we've talked about how to take your home and to make it more beneficial for the environment, we can talk about your home and how to get rid of all the pests and unwanted critters that are roaming about it.
Well, and Leo and Adam, I would expect you guys to chime in with stuff you see from your perspective, right? Especially on your end, Leo. Like, pests can create another whole multitude of things that create bigger problems for your home as it relates to issues, right, in a home inspection.
That is true. And it also reminds me that way it's important to have frogs around your house because, you know, frogs are always happy. They eat what's bugging them.
You always have a dad joke, so we'll see what Adam has to follow up with that later. So
Nothing, because that doesn't deserve a follow-up.
I have a follow-up for segment 3.
That stands on its own is terrible.
That will be the segment 2. Though.
all right.
Which is also nice because I do have a pond water feature in my backyard that I've turned in. Well, it turned itself into a frog pond, so it actually does pleasing animal noises at night. Just ribbiting and croaking. It's hopping.
Very nice.
And that's not a dad joke. That's serious. That pond actually is infested with, like, completely with frogs. But I do like the noise at night. It helps me sleep.
But you got to be careful with the frogs and the dogs, because if the dog eats a frog, it could be bad.
I got none of those baphotoads.
Okay.
None of those. We took care of it. It was weird. It was like we could actually see, and you probably can appreciate this, being in pest control. Getting rid of one invasive species allowed 1,000 native species to take its place.
Absolutely.
Just one animal. We got rid of one animal and 1,000 local ones took its place.
What'd you do to get rid of the frog or the toads? I mean,
it was one toad, and you know, we relocated it.
To the ground?
Yeah, pretty much. It was relocated.
All right,
This is a family show. It was relocated.
So Robert Perez is with
my dog goes to a farm when he's done, you know.
Robert's with Family Pest Services right here in Land O'Lakes. He's been married to Letty for 32 years, has a couple of adult children.
Congrats.
Monica and Daniel, and he started Family Pest 8 years ago after working in pest control for 24 years and was ready to take the plunge and jump in.
That's right.
And so you're located right here in the Land O'Lakes office. He actually does pest control for us.
Wonderful.
For our homes, for our office.
Wait, this place doesn't need pest control. I've never seen a single pest in this place.
That's because we're here.
That's because he's here.
So, what kind of questions do you get? Well, I guess let me back up and ask you a different question. So, at this time of year, right? We're pre-spring. We're just getting into the early part of spring. What's the biggest complaint you get right now as it relates to pests? What kind of stuff are you seeing?
So right
is
now
it ants or roaches or what is something else?
The ants are always out there. The biggest thing right now is drywood termites, subterranean termites. They're getting ready to swarm. As a matter of fact, we just had some calls in the last few days about termite swarming. And one of the things that homeowners need to look out for when they're in their house, in their natural environment, is look for anything that they haven't seen before. Wings around the windowsill, coffee grinds. These are pellets from drywood termites. They look like coffee grinds, but they're just actual poop from termites.
Yeah, termite poop.
To look for that.
Termite poop.
Mud tunnels that weren't there a few days before. A baseboard that looks like it's perfect, intact. You touch it and you tap it and your finger goes right through it. That's a subterranean termite issue. So right now the biggest problems that are out there are subterranean drywood termites, ants, lots of rats still in attics.
I've been in properties where the subterranean termites were so bad they were eating the wood floors. Like, it's crazy. Like,
yes,
some of
I've
the
done
stuff
a lot
seen.
of treatments. I've been in this business over 32, 33 years. Subterranean termites are my specialty.
So, so you guys treat not only pests but termites as well?
Absolutely.
Do termite inspections and all that stuff?
That's right. I'm a member of the West Pasco Board of Realtors, affiliate member. So we do a lot of inspections, WDO inspections for home sales, whether it be a VA loan or a conventional loan or FHA. We do the inspections. I also have all my inspectors are trained by me, and we also have the Supra keys, so we can electronically get into a house and do an inspection without the realtor having to be there.
Speaking of rats, I have a very important question. And this is not a dad joke. This is a
Okay,
question.
we're waiting for it.
I heard that recently Tampa was invasive species, the Nordic rats, which tend to be bigger and more vicious to your personal belongings than regular rats. What have you heard about the Nordic rats?
We're talking Norway rats?
Yes.
Yeah. And the Norway rat, obviously, that's why it's called a Norway rat. It came across from Norwegian ships. And I actually... I grew up and started in pest control in Brooklyn, New York. I was 20-something years old, and I can tell you that the rats, the Norway rat is probably the size of a cat. I don't see many here in the Land O'Lakes area, Lutz area.
I would lose my bleed
Yeah.
if I saw a rat the size of a cat. I would be.
They're huge. I mean, we have them down in Tampa, like
do?
Tampa
You've seen
proper. We actually had an infestation. They were living in my shed, and they were raiding the chicken coop feed. They would be eating like 20 to 30 pounds of food in a day.
They're more isolated to water areas, you know.
Well,
bodies
that's
of
where you got
water.
that feature, but that's the problem. You got to get rid of that water feature.
So they are a problem down here then?
Yes, absolutely. I see a lot of them in the Newport Richie area, and that's one of one of our specialties. We come out, we get rid of your rats. Most homeowners don't even know that they have rats, especially the fruit rats. Fruit rats are small, black. You don't even realize that you have them in your attic.
What are some signs people should look out for so that they know they're up there and can, because this is one of those things, if you don't handle it, it can multiply and be a big problem. So.
That's right. And they will travel.
That's a health issue too, right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. So what are some little things people should notice that they might not otherwise pay attention to?
Well, one of the things they should do is, number one, the rats are going to travel into your attic for protection, to eat. Nice, comfortable place when it's cold, especially when it gets cold. When it's too hot, they're up there during the evening, but it gets too hot for them in an attic, so they'll leave. You have to make sure that you have someone inspect, or if you want to inspect it yourself, and look for entry points. All they need is a nickel-sized hole to get into your structure. So one of the things we do is, at no charge, we'll come out, we'll evaluate, and we'll take a look at your home and determine whether there's an entry point. And then from there, we can inspect the attic. We can do this at no charge. Normally, going out and doing a 10-minute inspection, which usually we can find if there's rats in an attic in about 5-10 minutes. And if you want us to get more into it, we can. However, sealing the entry points will usually keep them out. If you're having an issue with rats on the exterior of your home, you might want to place some rodent stations on the exterior. They're child and pet proof, where the rats will come in towards your house, eat out of these boxes, and then go back to where they're nesting. That'll keep them away from getting into your house. But you always have to keep the entry point sealed.
But the problem with bait boxes is when the rats eat the poison, take it back to their nest and share that poison with the rest of the rats, where they permanently relocate, which means that now you're dealing with a dead corpse. Could be if it's in a crawl space area or if it's underneath something, hard to get places. How long does that smell last if you can't get to it?
Well, first of all the rodent boxes are sealed and locked, and only have 2 holes where the rodents get in. They also have 2 stakes in there where the material goes in, the poison, and they can't take that with them. They can chew at the material and eat it at the box. Once in a while, they may be able to take one out and get it out and take it with them. But most of the time, they'll feed at the station itself. When they die let's say they die in a structure, you never want to bait an attic or put bait in a home where a rat can eat it, because they'll die. They'll in a section of the attic where you can't get to them, they'll die inside a wall. The only way to find a rat inside a wall is to feel your way around, look for the warm area if it's dead. Obviously, it's going to be dead because you're going to use your nose and look, follow the smell. Then you have to cut that out. So, yeah, you never want to bait, and for rats in an attic or in a house. But it takes about a week and a half, 2 weeks before the smell goes away. By that time, you'll have the gnats, the maggots, you'll have your flies, and it takes about 3 weeks for all of that to go away.
Woof.
Yeah, I've smelled that in houses, and it's like, oh.
Not great.
Awful smell.
Oh man, I had a rat at my house one time. It was only in the shed, okay, but it's one of those plastic Rubbermaid sheds. I had laid ryegrass seed out and realized that was a food source for them. So they had eaten through the bottom of the shed and got in, and it scared the crap out of me when I opened the door and I see this fat rat eating. I was like, oh god.
So
we put the bait in
I
there,
only
and
had
I
a
didn't
rat
have that problem anymore.
One time, it was at my old house, or mouse, or whatever you want to call it, and I have a husky, and my son actually saw this take place, but he let the dog out in the back by the pool area, and apparently the dog saw it right away. It had chewed a little area inside the screen lanai, and he went and got him, was like, boop, killed him right away. He was outside on the my son saw him doing something, wasn't sure what it was, and we walked up by the
playing
pool,
with his food
saw
out
this
there.
dead rat, and my dog said, we'll take care of that.
Is people with dogs, is that job threat to you because they can actually take
Stop
care of the
it.
pest without?
No, but I have a tiny Yorkie too, so the big dog just took care of it.
813-377-2775 for all your pest-related needs. We can hook you up with the ASPCA or the Humane Society to get you a pet dog, or we can hook you up with a gentleman that can actually put out some stations.
Well, I got lucky. My little dog grabbed it in the pool area before it got to the attic.
813-377-2775. We have two different, either text the word dog or pest to that number, and we'll hook you up with the appropriate agency to make sure that all your needs are taken care of. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Leo.
What?
I'm with you.
And welcome home. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm Adam Talley with Talley Insurance. And before we dive back in on pest control, I want to give our insurance tip of the week. And it's going to relate right here to what we're talking about.
Better be related to a bug, buddy.
It certainly is. Well, bugs and critters and that kind of stuff aren't covered under your homeowner's insurance. So you need to...
Ooh, that's a good
You
one.
need to call your guy, Robert, over here and make sure that he's doing quarterly services for you, that kind of stuff. It's one of those things where prevention will save you a lot in the end. Similar to your body, right?
What kind of stuff have
Do the
you
preventive
seen
stuff.
where someone's trying to make a claim based on pests?
We wouldn't see that. We wouldn't necessarily see that directly. They'd probably go to the carrier and get denied that way. But you could see it, especially if it was a termites or something like that. So okay, well, the roof is deteriorated. Well, we don't cover wear and tear. Why is it deteriorated, right? If it's falling down, that probably wasn't a storm event if you go in and all the rafters and everything are chewed up. So that's probably where the denial would come, and there's not really much you can do at that point. So
Robert, there's times you guys can offer same day appointments and get out there to see people right away. What are the frantic calls you get where people are like, "Can you come out today?"
Oh my God!
Is it a roach? Is it a rat? What do people freak out about?
rats.
People freak out about rats, number one. Roaches, they see a roach, and they're calling because they think they have German roaches.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not German roaches. It's just a roach that came in from outside. It could be an Asian roach, an Oriental, something like that.
And what's the difference in the roaches so people know?
So the German roach is the only introduced pest or introduced roach into a house, meaning that people bring it in with their groceries, with laundry or something, and then all of a sudden one turns into
And that's
1,000.
There's they're worse than the other roaches.
Yes, because it's going to take you a lot more inspecting and treatment to get rid of these German roaches. It usually takes, depending on the size of the infestation, 3 to 4 visits to get rid of them fully.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
And then the regular Florida roach is just...
No, that's just basically something. You open the door, it flew in behind you. They normally walk over the material you placed with your quarterly service on the exterior or interior entry points. They walk over that, and that's why most homeowners, they usually see the
dead
so-called palmetto bug on its back dead.
Yeah.
Which the big ugly guys are better than those little nappy German cockroaches.
It's when they start flying that freaks people.
The palmetto bugs do fly.
Yeah.
They do.
So ants are also a problem too, aren't they? They start surfacing around this time of year.
Big problem in Florida. Usually when you have a rain a day or two later, you're seeing customers are calling that they're getting ants. How long does it take? One of the biggest questions, why is it taking so long to get rid of these ants? Well, it depends on the size of the colony. You could have several colonies, and you can have 1,000 members. You can have 1 million members in these colonies, and it all depends how long it takes for that ant to go back to the colony, take the material back, and contaminate the entire colony. So you don't want to use a contact kill when it comes to ants. You really want to use something that's going to be delayed, and they take it back.
A bait.
Yes, a bait.
And there's different ants, right? Are some of like roaches? I mean, are there some species of ants that are worse and harder to get rid of?
Well, you've got Caribbean crazy ants, pyramid ants. You've got your fire ants. Those are hard to get rid of. You've got carpenter ants, which actually come into your house. They're called carpenter ants because they like to nest in softwood. So when you find the ants, carpenter ants inside a house, you want to look for areas that have moisture issues. That's where they're going to go. They don't actually eat wood. They just nest inside the wood and that's where they feed. They bring their they eat other ants and food that you leave behind. They bring it back to that area, and that's where they nest and have their babies.
What about the baby tiny little ants?
Yeah.
Sugar ants?
Like ghost
you find
ants or
everywhere
sugar
but in the
ants?
sugar?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that takes a little bit of sanitation around the house. We need the homeowners to help us out a little bit, and we come out and we bait. Again, you want to bait. You do not want to use a contact kill inside the house, and that's what we specialize in. We have technicians that are constantly training to come out, inspect, determine what type of ant you have, and then the method of eradicating them.
Well, I had heard that ants like to travel by train.
Yeah.
Because you can always find them at the infestation.
Anyways,
How do you store all this here? I don't know.
He was looking him up
But
before
they're
we got
pretty
here.
right on time.
there's a few things that you don't need to store anymore, bud. Now, question for you, and I'm sure this comes up all the time with homeowners, with pets. How does your chemical treatment around the house, how does that affect the pets, and what dangers are there?
The pets, the kids, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this again for probably 33, 34 years, and the only thing that it does is it makes you gain a little weight, as you can tell. But that's about it. I mean, I've never killed or hurt any animals. The materials are all EPA registered. And obviously, whenever we're treating a structure, we ask the homeowner to put themselves, depending on what we're treating for. If we're treating for fleas or something like that, we ask that you keep the pet away from the area for at least 30 minutes until it's dry. Then they can put them back in. All the materials, again, we try to use all the materials that are safe for pets and humans. And we also have organic. If a person is very sensitive, we can use organic where we don't have to go in with a chemical type material.
How do you treat for fleas?
The biggest treatment method for fleas, believe it or not, is vacuuming. So whenever we go out to a structure to treat for fleas, we ask that all the toys be picked up, especially carpet areas. We ask the homeowner to vacuum the area before we get there. We do our treatment. We have to treat the interior, and we also have to treat the exterior of the structure. And once we do our treatment, which is a broadcast spray most of the time, we ask for the pet to stay away or the homeowner to stay away from that area for about 30 minutes until it's dry, per label instructions, obviously. And then we ask the homeowner 15 to 20 days after we're done, they have to vacuum. They have to vacuum every day, take that bag, remove it, and use a different bag every day.
You have people that don't vacuum for like 3 weeks at a time?
Yes, they vacuum once and then we're back like
The Roomba does the rest.
8-10 days
They
later.
don't vacuum. I mean, you got to vacuum like once a week at least, right? Like, I would think. Like, man, 3 weeks seems like a lot of dust.
Every day for 3 weeks?
Every day for 3 weeks you have to vacuum. However, we will provide you a warranty.
Hardwood floors, here they come.
We will provide you a warranty after our treatment. If you vacuum and you get fleas again within 90 days, we're back at no extra charge.
Now, what about flies? Can you do anything about flies?
Flies are a different breed.
Yeah,
sanitation.
What about mosquitoes? Because that's a common one, isn't it? Where like there some exterior stuff?
Bats is the best thing for mosquitoes.
Yeah, but if you have
absolutely.
But if you have bats, you can't get rid of them, right? Because they're protected depending on the bat. So
why would you want to get rid of bats?
protected.
Get a box. Get a nice little bat box. Have them populate the bat box, and you won't have to worry about your mosquitoes.
So one of the things we've
So
been
if you
doing.
didn't have bats and you wanted to deal with the mosquitoes, what's the plan?
Get a box. Get a box, and then the bats will
And a
find
bat.
you.
They're a flying insect, so it's very hard to get rid of them. However, we do mosquito treatments every 30 days, and it's funny you asked that question because right now we're doing it every 30 days. So we come out, we do your pest control, we do the mosquito treatment. Mosquitoes lay their eggs most of the time underneath the foliage. So when you do your treatment, you got to make sure you get underneath the foliage, get all the IPM, integrated pest management is the best thing for the homeowner. Make sure that your pots outside the house, flower pots, anything that can hold water, that's where the mosquitoes are going to lay their eggs. So you want to make sure you get rid of that, anything that's holding water underneath the pots. And one of the things that we're doing now is we just got certified to do mosquito misting systems. So
That's what I was wondering if you did that.
We just got certified for that, and we're starting to do mosquito misting systems.
So
I heard
what's
those
a
are
mosquito
pretty effective.
misting system? Like you put it in your yard, and every now and then just
So a lot of
shoot out like a
people,
Glade plug-in or
a lot of
something?
people will put those near their exterior pools that don't have screen lanais. If they want just an open pool, they will put those mosquito misting systems around there.
So the way we place our system, it's a 55-gallon drum, comes with a timer, it comes with a pump, and we normally ask the homeowner, where do you spend most of your time when you're entertaining? Or when you're hanging out with your wife having a cup of coffee or the kids, where do you spend most of your time? And normally we install the system on the side of the house near a pool pump. It just needs 110 volt. And then depending on where the homeowner likes to hang out, that's where we put the misting nozzles.
How many are there? Like how many misting nozzles do you have if you were putting it in a house?
Usually between 20 and 30 would
Okay.
handle a typical 2,000 square foot house.
Is there any smell or can you see it or anything?
Well, I'm sure that if you were standing next to it, you'd be able to smell it. We also have organic for that, where you wouldn't smell. But you have a timer where you want to set it off, let's say, at 7 o'clock, and the timer will set it off for 15 seconds, and you can do that twice or 3 times. It depends on the
Prime
customer.
time where the mosquitoes are.
That's correct. And then you also have with our system, you have a remote control. You're going out on Sunday to have a party, family's coming over, set it off in the morning, and that way you're set and ready for when the family gets there, and it's 90%. I can't guarantee that I can get rid of every single mosquito.
And then the last 10%, use my idea, put a box, the bats come in. What's the best way to attract bats to a bat box?
So get mosquitoes and flies, and you know what? You bring the bats, I'll bring the misting system, right?
So bats do good, right? Because
They
they can
do a lot of
eat
good.
eat how many, like 1,000 insects an hour or something?
Well, like Tampa Riverwalk, the area between Straws and Armature Works, it doesn't have a lot of mosquitoes because there's a Mexican fruit fly bat bridge that's halfway between the two. And if you catch the right part around sunset, you can literally see thousands of bats leaving the bridge to go hunt.
Is that the one that leads
Like in
to Julian B. Lane right there, the metal one?
No, it's not the metal one. It's the shorter one. The one I think that's right before it.
Without bats, you can get rid of the bananas, get rid of the mangoes, get rid of all these fruits because they pollinate. The bats actually are beneficial for the fruits.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a harm factor with bats? I don't think there is that I know of. Is there?
Only if, let's say, for example, they're in your attic and they're there for long periods of time. And there's times where you can do bat exclusions and times that you are not allowed to do bat exclusions. So you have to leave them up there. You have to get a special permit to be able to get them out. Oh. And if they sit up there for a long time, the poop becomes guano. Guano is basically, it dries up. And
Lipstick.
if you get in an attic and you inhale that, you certainly will have issues, respiratory issues.
Wow.
So you can get rid of bats then?
You want to exclude them. You want to
Exclude
get them out, and then put a door wherever you're doing your bat exclusion where they can get out and not come back in.
An actual relocation.
And they fly sonar. They fly sonar, so they won't be able to find their way back in.
Nice.
Interesting.
See all the things we're learning this hour.
Learning a lot.
I didn't even know I knew all this stuff.
So
I do have a question, though, 'cause going back to the flies, because you said, sanitation, right? Because obviously it's coming out of the poop and that kind of stuff that's in the yard. What can you do if that's not your yard that it's coming out of?
Oh,
That's a good one.
That's a
That's a
good
good
one.
one.
Great question. Are they in your house?
No. Just think about it, because we're going to go to break here. So you got like 5 minutes on a break to think about your answer on that one.
But that's a good question. Like this, even like
it's just outside.
I've been
right?
at properties where there's rats coming from the neighbor's house or whatever. So I mean, that's a good question.
I have your answer.
We'll
Okay.
chat about that when we come back
Yeah.
after
Like
the break.
raccoons. I have raccoons living under my neighbor's property, and I'm always worried about my chickens.
Right.
Off your
Anyways,
number, 813-377-2775. You can call or text if you got some pest questions or you want to connect. 813-377-2775. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. We'll be back with Leo and Adam and Robert Perez with Family Pest Services right after this break, and he's going to answer your fly question.
I can't wait.
Stick around. We'll be back.
And let me Google it.
Nice. Well, good morning. Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, rounding out the top of the hour, talking about all the ways to get rid of your unwanted guests from your radio show, from your property and your house.
Wow. So, all right. So the fly question, Adam.
Flies.
Recap that, and we'll let Robert answer it. Where do we leave off?
Oh, we left off where helping with the flies. The neighbors got flies or...
The
Yeah,
pests are
dogs
coming
and-
from the neighbors.
Yeah,
their
so
property.
basically if the fecal matter from the dogs is out there and the urine and the flies are out there and nobody's cleaning it up, it's going to be tough to get rid of the flies. They're a flying insect, number one. They multiply very quickly. So coming towards your house, the only thing I could recommend is the zappers. Put a few of those out. We can also apply bait. Fly bait, that would help. A lot of people that have homeowners that have horses and horse farms use the fly bait to control them.
Fly
And-
bait?
Yeah, impossible to get rid of them 100%, but big help.
What about horse flies? Because those suckers bite.
Yeah, same thing.
And they're big, too.
Yeah.
Got to get rid of
They
your horses,
hurt.
Katrina.
That's
Ever
where you
been
get the fly bait.
You ever gotten bit by a horsefly?
Yes.
No, I don't have any horses.
You don't need a horse to get bit by a horsefly.
I don't
Couldn't
live in
imagine you on a
Very
horse.
painful.
I don't live in Hernando County.
They don't only live in Hernando County.
Well, they used to live in Pasco, but due to the development, they got pushed up north. I'm serious.
Okay, so termites. That's the only thing I think we didn't talk about. We probably should chat about before we talk about some listings to round down the hour here. Subterranean, Formosan, drywood. There's all these different types of termites, right, that are attracted to different types of things. So you see, well, let's use one we see all the time on the
Drywoods and subterraneans are
it
the
gets
two you're going to see
flags.
the most on
That's
the home
right.
inspections.
That's right.
Well, on the home inspection, the side of the garage door, right, where the water splatters, it gets wet.
Oh,
and
the
it attracts
trim.
what type of
Subterranean
termite?
termites.
Okay.
Anything that's got moisture. There's a thermal image every time you have a lot of water, a pipe that's leaking on the side of the house. There's a big puddle. That is basically a thermal image for subterranean termites. They're looking up into your house. That's a big piece of wood. That slab looks like a big piece of wood holding water. Thermal image, that's what termites go for. So when they're coming up towards your house, they're looking for any way to get in. 1/64 of an inch is all they need to get into that structure. So they find the wood. From that point, they go up. If there's the only way a subterranean termite can live above ground is if there's a water leak and they can get water from some type of water source in the attic, or if you had a water leak in the wall. Most of the time you find them around bathrooms, laundry rooms where there's plumbing coming into the house. That's where we specialize in, doing the inspection and finding out where the termites are. There's so many things you can use. The best material to use right now, I won't say the name because there's several, but the best way to go is with something that is a bait, where they take it back to the colony and then they groom each other, feed each other, then they die. Or you can use a bait system. So you can bait system, or we use the Centricon, which is what we feel is the most effective, Centricon bait system. Or you can use a liquid that also acts as a chitin inhibitor, which basically keeps them from molting.
Is that bait system the one where they're putting the spikes in the ground and then you put it near the colonies and they're supposed to find the spike and then take that stuff back? Is that the bait system you're talking about?
Yes, sir. So it's placed every 10 feet apart, 10 to 12 feet apart per label. In the old days, this system was basically just wood. You go out, you lift the station, you find the wood. If there's termites in there, then you put the bait in. Nowadays, the new system has the actual bait ingredient in every station. So when your house is protected all year round, so you come out, you inspect the system. If it's halfway eaten, then you put another station next to it and you replace that one. Be careful not to kill the termites. You want those termites to continue to eat.
Hey, what about that liquid? I've heard there's like a liquid you can place around the house in your perimeter or something.
Yes, we're using Termidor or Taurus, which is the best material on the market right now for us. For another company may use something else. We like that system because we get good results. We place it around the exterior of the house, trench and treat the interior. You can't treat the interior where people are walking around the house, but you can treat the interior walls or foam the interior walls where the material goes inside the wall. But that will allow the termite to walk through the material and take it back to the colony, eventually killing off the entire colony.
So, question for you. House has a concrete slab. Do they need to worry about subterranean termites?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Termites like to follow the line. So what they're going to do is come up when they see the thermal image, which moisture is putting out. They follow the plumbing lines right into the structure. So whenever you're finding termites in a structure, it's probably going to be, to the person that doesn't know, is going to be usually where you want to look is plumbing lines. That's how they get into the house, subterranean termites. They get an expansion joint in the garage where maybe they built a house and they poured a slab up to let's say the back of the garage, and there's an expansion joint there. A lot of times they don't pull out that wood form board. And that's where termites come in, right through that form board, right into your house.
So is there some visual signs for the different types of termites? So the subterraneans typically, or is it the dry woods that have the wings and the frass, or is that any of them?
So they both swarm. Drywood termites swarm, and it's just a mating flight. They're swarming to have babies. They swarm and they lose the wings. With the subterranean termites, they swarm and then two become compatible and they go back in the ground. And that's it.
And what about
the rest leave?
What about Formosian? So drywood, swarm, subterranean or underground. What about the Formosian?
The Formosian is basically a subterranean termite as well. The colonies are bigger, so they eat faster.
Okay.
What about those huge? Like I'm in Central America. I see this huge like nest thingy on the side of a tree. What kind of termites are those?
They're probably some type of subterranean termite, and they're good protein. Good protein.
They are.
Well, let's chat about some listings. I know there's one missing here. Want to chat through some of these here,
Yeah,
Leo?
we can.
These are all ones we have on the market, and we've got one other one. Hopefully, at least we'll bring here in a minute.
So I'm starting off the listings. This is the Beryl Project Engineering sponsorship of the listings that are the Keller Williams one. Are you sponsoring my sponsorship?
I sponsor your sponsorship. Of
Thank
course.
you for
Italian
sponsoring.
Insurance sponsored.
The Beryl sponsor of the Keller listing.
Okay, let's get the listing now.
So 545 Hammock Drive in Palm Harbor. This is a 1986 build, $550,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It's a setback house, which means you got a long, beautiful driveway leading up to the house. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, right in the heart of Palm Harbor. 545 Hammock Drive. Only been on the market for a little less than a week. We're not expecting this to last very long. We're not. It's going to be gone.
Hurry up, we're running out of time.
So the next one, 831 Maple Court, number 209 in Dunedin, Florida. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom property for $169,000. When you're checking out the Dunedin Highland Games tomorrow, make sure you stop by and check out 831 Maple Court, number 209. Fall in love with Dunedin. Put a offer in on this one. 4118 Summerdale Drive, Tampa, Florida. 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, $485,000. Brand new to the market.
We're out of time. We got a new one up in Hernando too. Great property, low 300s. 813-377-2775. We're out of time, Leo. We got more we can talk about. 813-377-2775. Remember, love where you live, or we're gonna fix it. Welcome home.